became a jigyasu. Tinmanand was also very effective in introducing me to the subject, and I really enjoyed my 2 years of association with him before I met Swami Dayanand. But once I met Swami Dayanand, what really convinced me is a systematic approach to learning. That you have to really go about it just like any other just like medicine or law or engineering or something. You don't just become a qualified or lawyer or a doctor just by attending a few classes. You have to prepare a platform where the basics are clear, and then you say, what about that? And so then the specialization starts until that you pretty much know everything that that field offers you. And that is what a specialization means. Then you're qualified to be a good lawyer or a doctor or something. So that is what is called a jigyasu. So I'm still on the point of Shravanam. So Shravanam does not mean just a few classes, because in the few classes you get a very good taste. When I met Swami Chinmanand, I was totally convinced this is something very beautiful. I need to learn it. But it wasn't clear to me how. I would go to his 10-day Gita Yajna at place to place, and he also taught us some textbooks like Atma Bodha, I remember, and so on and so forth. But it wasn't systematic. It was very pleasant and very engaging. It was not until I really studied with Swami Dayanandji that the system of the structure of the learning became very clear to me. So that is what is called Shravanam. And all the acharyas say this, and I am very clear about it, because you have to become a specialist in all aspects. Anytime somebody asks a question on what do you think about it, you should have a ready answer in your mind. You shouldn't say, well, let me study where it was, study this and so on. No. The basics have to be right off in your mind. And so this is what is called Shravanam. So Shravanam is just to understand what the Vedanta Shastra is saying about you. How can you be free from the very dukkha, sukha dukkha and so on? How is that possible? It should be very clear how that is possible. Then comes the next phase, which is called Mananam. And Mananam means that you now have to you have to really now bring it to your own life. So the Shravanam is a possibility, and Mananam is to bring it to your own life and see how what the Vedanta says, it really applies to your life or not. Because our experiences are still contrary to what the Vedanta is saying. This is what is called Viparita Bhavana. So Viparita Bhavana means that whatever was talked about doesn't appear to be my experience. But the Mananam means that you should have the skill and the structure to bridge this gap between what is being said and what is your experience. Because right now they are poles apart. But the being poles apart is not unexpected. It is not a problem. This is to be expected. This is exactly what everybody has to go through. Then you start to bridge the Viparita Bhavana, the Tattva Bhavana and the Viparita Bhavana together. And this is where it takes a long time. Mananam takes a lifetime, and sometimes more than a life. Next life, we may have to spill over to the next life. We don't know. It all depends on who we are and how hard we work and how much sampatti, how much our internal wealth is, how malleable our minds are, all those kinds of things. Deserving, really, how deserving we are. So this is called mananam. Okay, so now we come to the last part of the Vedanta structure in order to get the results of this whole thing. This is called meditation or nididhyasana. Okay? So now this is an important thing to see. So the meditation means the ability to gather your mind on this very, very unlikely truth, not obvious. Because our orientation is just the opposite of that. My orientation from millions of years is that I am just a limited person with lots of problems and so on and so forth. And here he says, no, you are nothing but the very essence of Ishvara itself, Brahman. It doesn't, I can't appreciate that. That's too much for me to do. But so I find that maybe I should do something else. He says, no, don't do anything. Just keep plugging away on this truth, and one day this will become clear. So to make it clear, I have to now learn how to absorb my mind in the essence of what the teaching is. And this is what is called ekagrata. Ekagrata means having a study and an attitude which is well composed and also absorbing. There's nothing strange about it. So for example, when you're watching a movie which is very interesting to you, your mind is totally absorbed. And similarly, when reading a book, my granddaughters are now older, 12 and almost 13 and so on. And I see them when they are reading a book, they're not listening to anything else. You'll say, are you thirsty? Can I get you a drink of water? They're not listening to it. Why? Because they are so absorbed in reading a book that nothing else appears. So you almost have to shake them up and say, hey, I know you're going to go to sleep, and can you have some water, please? Then she look up and say, oh, okay, yeah, maybe. Then goes back to this is natural absorption. There's nothing, but the interest has to be there. So we need to develop a focused interest in what is being said. And so this is what is called ekagrata. Now this ekagrata has two forms to it. This is an important thing to see. So one form of ekagrata is called dhyanam. And the other one is technically called nididhyasanam. Dhyanam and nididhyasanam. We talked about it in the last Saturday class itself, I think, in one of the classes. I think it was the Mandukya class. So we need to know the distinction between these two. Okay? So dhyanam means to absorb your mind on a topic which is not entirely clear to you. Is called dhyana. The words are there, but you have not grasped it very clearly yet. Okay, so this is called dhyana. Then nididhyasanam is slightly different. Nididhyasanam means that things are very clear to you, but they do not become beneficial to you naturally. You have to really think about it. It's already clear about it, but you are it doesn't become serviceable, doesn't become fruitful to you instantly. There's a good example of that. So if you are in the US and it is a right-hand drive, and so I think a better example, which is a personal experience of ours, is really interesting. We had a huge accident because of that. We were in London. It is like 30, 40 years ago, long time ago. And so what happened is that you come out of, there are some hotels that are right on the street. In other words, you come down the steps and you are on the street. And there are cars whizzing back and forth. There are streets like this. This is where we were. This was a kind of like an old bread and breakfast place, not a huge hotel or anything like that. We couldn't afford it. So what happens is that as soon as you step out, and it's only 2 or 3 steps, you need to know which way to look. And we almost looked the wrong way. Because if it's a right-hand drive, then you need to look at your left if you're entering the road. But if it is a left-hand drive, then the cars are coming from the other direction. And lo and behold, I still remember that so well. We could have easily had a very serious accident. My wife and I just opened the door and walked down the steps, and we looked this way, when in fact the cars were coming in from the other. We saw there was nothing car. We almost took a step. This is called nididhyasana. How and why? Because it was very clear to us that England, like India, drives on the left-hand side, not on the right-hand. It's not as though we didn't know the laws. We knew the laws very well. But our momentum of thinking, because of how used to we were always thinking of being the right-hand drive. So similarly, in Vedanta Shastra, the nididhyasanam means that Shravanam is complete or almost complete, Mananam is complete, you are clear about the nature of the Atma. You've seen it in your own meditation through the Dhyanam, because first you have to go through Dhyanam. But it's very clear through Shravana, Mananam and so on and so forth. But yet you make mistakes. Here Swami Maheshananji gives the typical example that if there is a bug that bites you on your skin, then a person who is not schooled in Vedanta will say the bug bit me. Then one who is now schooled in Vedanta says the bug bit your body, but you have nothing to do with it. Because the bug cannot bite the Atma. It is not made up of something where the bug can actually squeeze the teeth into it. It's not possible. But if the bug bites, you immediately say, oh my goodness, I got bitten by the bug. But a person in understanding, and the same thing is true, this is just a physical thing which is okay, you can feel the bug, it's all right. You might take a couple of minutes and say, by the way, I cannot be bitten by the bug. Even though I seem like I was bitten by the bug, it's not really. More important one is, when somebody says something and it causes you some dukkha, some sorrow, an ajnani takes the sorrow to be itself. A jnani now smiles and says that the sukha dukkha is at the mind level and I am not the mind. I have nothing to do with the mind. I'm happy that somebody took the trouble to criticize me, but it's okay. I have nothing to do with that. So this is Nididhyasana. So the Nididhyasanam is the process where you learn to assimilate something that was already clear to you, and it's not being useful to you. So therefore, having said all of this, now we can actually do some meditation. But I caution you that knowing where we are in this process of teaching and learning and so on, it is a stretch to call it a Nididhyasana. We call it Nididhyasanam, but really speaking it is Dhyanam. Because we are still not very clear about what is Atma, what is Anatma, and how it affects, and so on and so forth, And so really, it is a stretch to call it a Nididhyasanam. It will be more appropriate and more accurately to say that there is some learning that gets facilitated by the ekagrata. So just having your own mind undisturbed by outside distractions and listening to the very truth of it, that is kind of like mananam. So really speaking, for quite a while, what we would call Nididhyasanam is really Dhyanam. So be very clear about that. Okay? So anyway, the lecture part of that is now over. How much time have we spent? About half hour for 25 minutes. So now, let us actually do Dhyanam. So Dhyanam or Nididhyasanam, either one, Ekagrata means the single-pointed absorption of the mind that encompasses both Dhyanam and Nididhyasanam, has a couple of parts to it, both of them. One is the preparation, and the other one is the actual meditation. So let us do both. We will first do a little bit of a preparation. The preparation itself requires some practice and so on, but over time the preparation becomes less and less time consuming. It happens rather quickly if you are used to it. And by the way, if those of you that are doing meditations by yourself and you've taken classes, all of those are good preparations. But I think that the thinking about the Atma, we don't know whether you have done that or not. So that might be something different. If you've done it, that also is okay. But the preparation can be in many different ways. Buddhists have their own preparation, other Hindu people also have there are different ways of preparing. But the actual dhyanam should be very consistent. So having said that, now let us do the first part, which is the preparation, and then we will do a small meditation itself, dhyanam itself. So with that, let's just do that. It might be good to turn off the lights in the wall. I think Chandra is there close to it. Yeah. नमस्ते अस्तु भगवन् विश्वेश्वराय महादेवाय त्र्यम्बकाय त्रिपुरान्तकाय त्रिकालाग्निकालाय कालाग्निरुद्राय नीलकण्ठाय मृत्युञ्जयाय सर्वेश्वराय सदाशिवाय श्रीमन्महादेवाय नमः। So at the very outset, the actual practice of meditation should be begun with a brief statement to your mind. It could be called sankalpa, or a promise, or a pratigya. It's like a statement of what we are doing. So you tell your own mind that, listen, here already you are making a difference between yourself and your mind. So your own vijnanam, your sense of knowing things, is the leader, and your mind is the follower. So there is a distinction already. You tell your mind that, listen, what I'm about to do is different from what I do normally during the day. Normally during the day, all of my actions can be classified in the roles that I play. So, you're preparing breakfast, either for yourself or your family. It is a role that you're playing. Then you get into the car, you're now a driver, a careful, observant, law-abiding driver. It's a role. Then you go to work, and now you are an employee, a role. Similarly, when your children call you or on the phone, then you are a parent, a role. So the entire day can be divided into various roles. This session, you can tell your mind, is not about the roles that I play, but the person that I am that plays the roles. So please assist me and follow me in looking at myself and my nature, my beingness of a person that is playing the roles. So cooperate with me. Well, not in so many words, but I think you can frame the meditation, and initially, later on, it becomes automatic. You can frame the meditation with this kind of a sankalpa. Listen. And so here in this sankalpa, if a thought should occur to you about what you need to do today, you can set it aside, because that is part of the role. That is not part of the person who is playing the role. This is the sankalpa. Then, the second part of this, really the very first aspect of that, is the posture. And the recommended posture is sitting posture. There's a lot of discussion about this. Veda Vyasa himself, under the Brahma Sutra, has written sutras that standing up or lying down or walking, etc., are not suitable postures. Sitting is the right posture. And this posture has two elements to it. And both the elements are aimed at the following: alert, relaxed posture. A posture that engenders alertness and relaxation. So what that means is, without going into all the details, you can be doing it cross-legged on the floor, or you can be sitting in a chair, doesn't matter. But your posture should be, really should have three things in mind. One is that it should be somewhat straight. Your back should be straight. So for example, if you're sitting on a chair, then it is okay to rest your back on the back of the chair, but not lean against it. Similarly, your neck and face and your torso should all be somewhat in a straight line. There is a reason for this. The reason is that if your body is slouching, it encourages going to go to sleep. So there are two impediments to a successful meditation. One, of course, is that your mind is not absorbed. It is running all over, distracted. The other impediment is that you go to sleep. So having a posture which is both alert and relaxed, and that's a skill that you will slowly develop if you haven't already, is to be made a goal. The third aspect of the posture is to maintain your posture without moving, certainly moving much, during the duration of the meditation. And the reason is that when you are constrained to move, then your mind also becomes distracted. So having loose clothes is an important one. If you're wearing a belt, for example, like the men do, then loosen the belt if possible. And all the other distractions of the body need to be kept away. So this is the first step, which is asana. The second step is to focus on the sense of touch in your body. Why and how? You will notice that all the other sense organs are localized in one part of the body or the other. The sense of touch is distributed throughout your body. That's the uniqueness of it. So, think about the touching of your body. Your feet are touching the ground. Feel it. Your thighs and hips are sitting on the chair. Feel it. Your back is gently touching the chair. Feel it. Your hands are clasping each other. Lastly, feel the gentle touch of the two sets of eyelashes touching each other. In fact, open your eyes just a little bit to let some light in, and in doing so, see the eyelashes disengage from each other. Then gently close the eyes again and feel the touch of the eyelashes. You can do this a couple of times. You can already see that your mind is more absorbed. Then go to the next step, which is to observe the tension points in your body, and in fact observe the whole body. You do that like a very competent masseuse, starting with one end of the body, let's say at the very top, and slowly work down the entire body. So pause at any point of the body where you can sense some tension, like from the head, come down to the eyes and the temples. Relax that portion. Move to the neck, the back of the neck, and the shoulders. Move to your stomach. These are typical places where tension is retained. They ask for your attention, like a child asking for the attention of a parent. So stay with that portion. For certain stubborn areas of tension, like the stomach, You can even use some technique. One technique is that you actually visibly and consciously squeeze the stomach muscles even more, make it even more tense, and then let go. The other technique is to breathe out your tension with each outgoing breath. Then move on to the lower parts of your body. Legs, feet, you can go back and check on the earlier parts that you visited. One idea to observe is there is no such thing as perfectly relaxed. There may be something like that, but you don't need to have that. Don't get tensed just because you're not able to relax fully. Just an attempt, natural attempt to relax is more than enough. So this was the third step. The fourth step is an observance of your breath. This is a very beautiful step. Because it shows you very clearly the presence and role of Ishvara. In more than one way. Normally, you feel you are doing things. You are keeping yourself alive and healthy. You're working. When your entire body-mind complex depends upon you. The observance of the breath negates this idea. How you observe that Ishvara has given you two things to keep you alive. One, of course, is the life-giving oxygen, which you should appreciate. The other one is the entire mechanism in the form of lungs which work in the form of the bellows, taking the oxygen in, expelling the carbon dioxide, circulating the oxygen throughout the body, all by itself. So much so, it requires no effort on your part. In fact, you cannot even stop it. What a beautiful presence of Ishvara. Here, the meditator is advised the least you could do is to make the breathing more rhythmic and deeper, longer. So you can just take your breath in, hold it for a split second, and then let it go slowly. Making sure it is not hastened and it's not too long. So the fourth step in meditation, in dhyana, in preparing for the dhyana, is observance of the breath. The fifth step and we'll make it the last one. There are a couple of minor other steps, but we can do that some other time. The fifth step is to make sure you are aware of any thoughts that you have. In fact, if you do the first 4 steps well, you will not really have much of uncontrolled thoughts. But if there are still some thoughts, then observing the thoughts, the nature of the thoughts, is the fifth step. Here, thoughts can be divided into 3 segments, kind of like 3 open windows where thoughts come in and out. One segment of the thoughts is related to the past, memories, regrets, reactions. The second set of thoughts are to do with the present. What you're listening to, thinking about it, and so on. The third set of thoughts, third segment of the thoughts, is about the future. Making plans, worrying about things. So, in making this clear segmentation, you have a better chance of recognizing the nature of the thoughts and to controlling it. So these 5 steps can be used to systematically prepare yourself for the meditation. It would be good to spend some time every day, hopefully at the same time and in a consistent place, free from distractions. If you have enough time, you can spend more time doing this. If not, even there, instead of skipping it altogether, spend as little as a minute or two so that the flow is not broken. Early in the morning, this is a great exercise where you remind yourself that in and out, in and through all the roles, you have time to discover the person that is playing the roles. I will briefly now, having given a preparation of the meditation, do a short meditation. As you know, we have studied that there are 3 ways of viewing the existence of things. The Vedic view is more nuanced, more sophisticated than the normal view we have of things. The normal view is either things exist or they don't. The Vedic view is that the existence should be looked upon in 3 segments, 3 ways. One is existence which is never untrue, never. Under no circumstances, unconditional. That is the true definition of truth, also called Sat or Satyam. The second type of existence is one which is never true. The classical case in Vedanta is the horns of a rabbit or the horns of human beings or a square circle does not exist at all. And the third type of existence is one which is somewhere in between Sat and Asat. And we say somewhere in between because it appears to be true, but does not really fulfill the definition of truth. Meaning, the appearance of truth is partial, just for a short time it is there, has a beginning and an end. While it is there, it may be changing, but it does not fulfill the definition of Sat, which is never untrue, always there. So now that we have seen the Vedic view of existence, let us see for ourselves. I find all thoughts are they fulfill the definition of this midway between Sat and Asat, also called Mithya. All thoughts are Mithya. Why? Because there was a beginning of the thought, there is an existence of the thought, and there is a dissolution of the thought followed by some other thought. The sounds that I hear, the physical touch, is also Mithya. Ideas, Mithya. In and through that, look at yourself. You, the conscious entity, is there ever a time when you are not there? Are you like the experiences of thoughts and sounds? No. There is no beginning for yourself. If you think there is an ending for yourself, that also is only the ending of yourself as a body or as thoughts, not as consciousness. Are you therefore not the Satyam? How can you not be the Satyam? You are you, without trying, without any effort. All efforts are within you, all trying. See this beautiful distinction between Satyam and Mithya. How can you miss it? But we missed it. You cannot not be Satyam even if you tried. There is only one Satyam, one Sat in the whole creation. Which is the creation's creator. Me, the Satyam, is not just mine. The whole universe, it is the Satyam of the whole universe, common to all of us. But just from my own standpoint, see yourself as the very Satyam. Self-existing, self-cognizing. No other help is necessary. The nature of I know, I know, I know, I know. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Just slowly open your eyes. This is Dhyanam. So we'll resume the text from next week. Thank you.